He thought it was the perfect plan. A masterpiece of humiliation. Today was his wedding day, a day for new beginnings, but he was still tangled in the threads of his past. He wanted everyone to see just how far he had come. And more than that, he wanted them to see how far his ex-wife, Sarah, had fallen. He pictured her arriving, looking worn and out of place among the glittering guests. He wanted them to whisper. He wanted them to see that he had made the right choice, that his new life was a shining success, built on the ashes of what he had left behind. He had sent the invitation himself. It was printed on the finest paper, edged in gold, a deliberate contrast to the life he imagined she was living. He told his new bride, who seemed to enjoy the thought of the drama, that it would be a final, triumphant moment. He even confided in a few of his closest friends, planting the seeds of mockery before she even arrived. He knew she worked a simple job. Then it happened. A hush fell over the guests near the entrance. A ripple of silence spread through the church. A car was pulling up the long gravel driveway. It wasn't a taxi. It wasn't a modest sedan. It was a Rolls-Royce. Long, black, gleaming under the afternoon sun. It moved with a silent, regal grace. The car came to a stop. A uniformed driver stepped out. He walked around to the passenger side. He opened the door with a quiet flourish. The entire church seemed to hold its breath. Out stepped Sarah. She was not alone. Triplets, together, wide, curious eyes, sticking close to their mother. Sarah, calm, dignified, a woman of quiet strength. The groom watched from the altar, his smile faltering. This was not in the script. A Rolls-Royce? Triplets? The whispers started, not mockery. Who was this woman? Her hand went limp in his. Her confident face became a mask of disbelief. Instead, she walked the main aisle as if she belonged there. The three boys walked with charming seriousness. Her gaze was steady, fixed on the front, bearing witness. The power in the room had shifted. It was no longer his. It had followed her, this quiet woman with her three sons, all the way up the aisle. He had to regain control. He had to put his plan back on track. He needed the audience back on his side.
Well, Sarah, look at you. It's been a while. I see some things haven't changed. Still trying to live a life you can't afford?
He was trying to paint her as a fraud, a pretender. She looked up at him, her eyes clear and unwavering. There was no anger in them, only a deep, quiet sadness. Every guest was now a witness, their expressions unreadable but sensing the tension in the air.
I didn't come here to cause trouble, Mark.
That was all. In that sentence, she reframed the entire situation. He was the one causing trouble. He was the one making a scene.
Sarah, dear, it's so good to see you. But a Rolls-Royce, have you won the lottery?
It gave Sarah the opening to tell her truth.
There was no lottery.
After the divorce, she had been left with almost nothing. Sleepless nights, working 2 jobs to make ends meet. She went back to school, took evening accounting classes for her boy's future. She opened a tiny bookkeeping business at her kitchen table, built clients through hard work and word of mouth. Then she answered about the car.
The Rolls-Royce isn't mine.
Her elderly neighbor called his son, who ran a classic car service, and arranged the ride. The atmosphere in the church had transformed completely. The whispers of shock turned into murmurs of admiration. Mark's cruel words now seemed not just petty, but pathetic. The verdict was clear. This was not the victory she had signed up for.
Mama helps Mr. Henderson with his cat.
A few people chuckled, warm and genuine. The tension broke. They were children, innocent and real. Their presence softened every heart in the room.
This woman has more integrity in her little finger than some people have in their whole body. I am proud to know her.
She pays her bills on time and always has a kind word. She's good people.
Simple truths about her character, her kindness, her quiet strength. He had wanted to be the hero, but he had become the villain. All eyes were on Sarah, filled with newfound respect. He had tried to expose her as poor and pathetic. Instead, he exposed himself as cruel and small. The crowd had turned, not for wealth, but for human decency. Dignity had the final word. After the ceremony, what should have been a joyous receiving line became a strange, divided affair. Polite words, little warmth. The real energy of the room was elsewhere. Congratulations for her sons, her courage, her truth.
You did this to ruin my day.
The threat was gone from his voice.
No, Mark. You did this to yourself. I just came to show my sons that you should never be ashamed of who you are.
And walked away, leaving him standing there with his empty victory. The reception was a hollow affair. The band played, the champagne flowed, the cake was cut. But the joy was gone. The story they told was not about the happy couple. It was about the woman who arrived in a borrowed Rolls-Royce, armed only with her dignity and her 3 sons, and quietly won the day. A gracious goodbye, and the chapter closed. A quiet, steady glow. In the end, the story is not really about a wedding or a fancy car. It's about the difference between price and value. Mark had spent a fortune to create a perfect image, a moment of public triumph. But character is not for sale. True worth isn't measured by the car you arrive in, but by the kindness you've shown. Years passed. He remained a man of means, but the story stuck to him like a shadow. He had won the battle for status, but lost the war for respect. Sarah's life bloomed. Stable work, a respected name, known for integrity and a warm heart. Her boys learned that dignity is something you carry inside you, not something you wear or drive. Her victory lived in 1,000 ordinary decent days. True class has nothing to do with money. It's how you treat people. Humiliation shatters in the user's hand. Dignity, like a well-tended garden, keeps growing.